In this video we're going to go over creating the red piece, and we're going to build that from the blue piece. Now depending on if you're on the same computer or not, you may see your recent files here. If it's not here, I can say remove these. If there's nothing here, it doesn't mean your file's gone. So I'm going to go to open, I'm going to go into my U drive, DDE, 1" cube, and I'm looking for my blue piece.ipt, so that it does have this blue square symbol, but that is my part file. So I'm going to go ahead and click open. Notice I can see down here and at the top my block number, underscore my username, underscore the name of my, or what is the file. So our red piece, if you've seen it in class, looks very similar to our blue piece. And we're going to actually create it from our blue file by modifying our blue file, rather than drawing the whole thing over again. So I have my blue piece open, and I'm going to come up to File, Save As, and I'm going to change what it is. So I'm going to change it from blue piece to red piece. Now it's important you went File, Save As, because we're actually creating another file. So now I can see the file name updated to O2, or my block number, underscore my username, underscore what is my file. So if I come in here and show you, so here are my blue piece files and here are my red piece file. I'm no longer editing my blue piece, I'm in my new file. So we don't get confused, let's go ahead and change this. I'm going to open the plus button next to solid bodies, go into Tools, Appearance, and I'm going to look for red. I like just this generic red, so I'm going to grab solid 1 and then hit this up arrow to apply it to that entire part. And there is my part. So let's go back to 3D model. I'm going to start a 2D sketch, and I'm going to start it on this front surface of my piece. There you go. You want to make sure you're not working on the back of your object where there is not that slant. So we're just grabbing this middle piece of the front. Now I'm going to start a line, and I want to start it from this corner. Make sure it's snapping to that part. So I'm going to snap to the corner, and I want to come down at a 45-degree angle. Now if I type 45, it's going to come over here because of where it's going. I want to go 45 degrees from here. So I have to do 90 plus 45, tab, 135. I'm going to do tab, and I'm just going to bring that out about here. Doesn't matter where it ends, I just need it to be longer than the bottom of my part. Let me grab my line tool, I'm going to do the same thing in this direction. Now, it is taking it from here, so I can take, go from either direction. So 90 minus 45 is going to be 45. Tab, 45, tab. I'm just going to bring that line out. So now I have two lines that are 45 degrees from the bottom of the part. And I can show you that. It's going to tell me I'm over dimensioning, but that's 45, and this is 45. That's what we're really creating. It just depends on where Inventor's pulling 0 from. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those so they don't over constrain my drawing. Then I'm going to close my triangle. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to grab the bottom corner, and I'm going to bring that across, and I'm just going to close in that triangle. Sometimes people aren't snapping to the ends of their lines, and it's not actually a closed shape. It will not extrude if it's not a closed shape. I actually do that one a little bit over, and I can just trim the extras. You don't have to. I'll show you. This one will disappear once I extrude it. I'm just going to make sure that's all lined up. It is. So I'm going to go ahead and press finish. I'm going to hit extrude, and I'm going to grab this triangle and this triangle. Notice they're going in the opposite direction. I want to send them onto the part. So I'm going to change direction, And I want to make sure it's still set to join. I don't want to cut in that direction, remove the no material that's there. And then I'm going to set my distance at 0.25. So it's going to add those, and you're going to notice this portion of the line is going to disappear once it's consumed by that extrusion. I'm going to click OK. So there is my whole yellow part. Again, it doesn't take very much because we're building it off of our blue piece. So I'm going to go ahead and click File, Save. I've already told it where and what I want it to be called. Let's go to File, Print, Send to 3D Print Service. Remember, I'm not clicking on Print, I'm just hovering over it to get this setting. I always check my options, make sure I'm in binary, millimeters, and high resolution. Okay. And I'm going to put it right in the same folder, so it already names it for me, and I'm going to press Save. Then I'm going to click File, New, and we're going to create a drawing file for this, just like we did for our yellow piece and just like we did for our blue piece. The first thing I'm going to do is change the size of my sheet. Right click, Edit Sheet, and I'm going to change it to Custom Sizes in Inches with a height of 17 and a width of 22. And click OK. So let's grab our base view, making sure I have the right one. Well, let's bring this down here. I'm going to set it 5:1, and I want to make sure both hidden lines and shaded are selected in the style view. I'm going to click OK. Let's project those. So I'm going to grab this as my base view. I'm going to project this over, and my isometric, and I have to right click and press Create to make those files. Let's start by dimensioning our right hand view. So I'm going to go to Annotate, Dimension. I'm going to do my overall width of the object. Remember, if you remember from the other videos, we're going to stack our dimensions. So the closer they are to the object, the smaller they're going to be. And I'm grabbing from the same baseline. 0.25, 0.75, and a total of 1. And I'm grabbing and I'm putting those dimensions in between my two views because I want to make sure that it's easy to tell that the whole object is 1 inch. And that looks like all the dimensions we need on the right hand side. So now we're going to dimension our front. Let's first do this angle. Remember, I'm clicking on a line, but not a dot. I'm looking for the angle symbol. So that's 45 degrees. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because we're going to do quite a few dimensions here. So we need to go from here to here is our 1/8. I'm going to change our primary units to 3 digits. And you can manipulate usually where this goes, although it does look like it's not going to fit in the middle. So I can pick whether I want it on one side or the other. Then I'm going to do my 3/8. So I'm going to grab from here to here and bring that down. Need to round that. Anytime it's an eighth, I'm going to need to round it. 5/8. And 7/8. These ones look a little bit closer together, so I'm just going to bring this out 1. There you go. So that way they're consistent. That looks like what we need on our front view. And we're going to add the rest of our dimensions up to our top view. So I'm going to grab from this corner to my dotted line. It's going to be our 3/8. same thing over here. Oop. So that I didn't grab the right line. So let's go ahead, mark up this. I do want to grab from this line to this line is our 45-degree angle. I want our overall, it's going to be 1. And that we know from here to this one is going to be our 60 degrees. That one's a little tough because see how it wants to cross that dimension line? We don't really want to cross dimensions. So I'm going to bring it just about there. And let's see if we can change where that 60 degrees is. So I don't want it to cross dimension lines, but I want it to be visible. So there is my 60 degrees. So that should be all of our dimensions in our top view. So we have all of them in our width and our height, and our depth is consistent at 0.25. So you want to make sure your dimensions are not overlapping and you're stacking them. So I'm going to go ahead and press save. Same naming conventions as a drawing. I'm going to press save. And then I'm going to export as a PDF. Export PDF. Save. I'm going to open up my file folder. U drive, DDE, 1-inch cube. Notice we're getting a considerable amount of files. So that's why it's important that you're following your name conventions, because I can tell you right now, here is the PDF for my red piece. And I can open that up and make sure it looks good. And that's everything I want it to be. But I could also open up the blue piece. It's very easy because I followed those naming conventions. My block number, my username, what is my file. It also helps that I know that I put them in my DDE folder in my 1-inch cube. So I'm going to make sure that I attach all 4 of these red piece files, my drawing file, my part file, my PDF, and my STL. Notice there is a temp file open. That's because it's actively open in Inventor, so it has just kind of a working memory. If you ever need to rename, you need to make sure it's not open in Inventor. We can do that. Just check in with your teacher. So I'm going to make sure to attach all 4 of those files to the Google Classroom and submitting those. So good luck. Make sure to ask if you have any questions.